Hey, howdy, hey, how's everybody doing? And welcome back to Disney Daily. So I just got done watching Raya and the Last Dragon, and 2 thumbs way up, you guys. This was such an amazing movie. It was heartfelt, it was action-packed, it was fun, it had a beautiful message overall, and there are so many good things I have to say about this movie. And I wanted to show you guys this because I had to get into the mood, so I wore my Raya and the Last Dragon sweater. You guys, there's just so much about this movie that I really, really enjoyed. So I'm gonna try and make at least the first minute or 2 minutes just spoiler free and just kind of touch on little things here and there that I really enjoyed, and then I'll let you guys know when I start getting into spoilers. So the first thing I gotta say is the animation is incredible. I mean, talk about like Disney just evolving and getting better and better and better in terms of animation. And this, I think, is their best movie thus far. I mean, from the water to the different lands to the architecture, I mean, everything is just so well done and detailed and colorful. And I felt like I really was in Kumandra. Did you know that majority of this film was put together from home? Yeah, so all of these individuals, all of the creators and animators, everyone that worked on this movie, they had to work from home for majority of the project due to COVID-19, which I think is just mind-blowing. It just goes to show you how devoted these individuals were to this project. Animation is no easy task, and I know that actually more so now that I watched the making of Frozen 2, I saw how much work goes into just animating 1 second. So it's crazy to think that these individuals were not together. They were never together. They had to do everything over Zoom, and it just makes me appreciate the movie that much more. The next thing I want to talk about is the music. Oh my gosh, James Newton Howard, you knocked it out of the park. It was so glorious and just mesmerizing. And I found myself crying in some scenes where it wasn't even the characters that was making me sad or like the underlying theme. It was the music that brought me to tears. So, the music, just beautiful. Mwah. The next thing that I really want to touch on is the casting job. They really nailed it. I feel like casting for an animation sometimes is almost harder because of the fact that you don't obviously get to see that actor or actress's face. And so it can be kind of hard to find the right person to bring an animated character to life. But wow, Disney really did a great job with their casting choices. Kelly Marie Tran as Raya captured her perfectly. I mean, she made the perfect Southeast Asian princess. There is nothing, I mean, you can't top Kelly Marie Tran as Raya. Then we have Sisu, who was played by Awkwafina. Now, I've been an Awkwafina fan for a really long time now, and it was really cool to see her lend her voice to an animated character, and she knocked it out of the park as well. She was more of like basically the comic relief, and you kind of get that from the trailers, but she just knocked it out of the park. Her voice really matched up with the dragon well. And then we had Gemma Chan, who played Namari, and she did a beautiful job as well. I mean, honestly, the casting choice all the way around, not just those 3 characters, all of the characters that we encounter throughout the movie, beautifully done, beautifully casted. The last thing I want to talk about before getting into spoilers is if you like action-packed movies, this is the movie for you. And I always like a good little action twist in a movie, and you get that over and over and over and over again in this movie. And not only do you get to see really awesome hand-to-hand combat, but like sword battles and just mixed martial arts, and just, it is the coolest movie. It really is so cool. Okay, so now we're gonna get into some spoilers. So if you don't want to know anything, turn away now. So I will say that the movie is very predictable in a sense. Like, I feel like even just watching the trailer, you can kind of get the gist of like what's going to happen. However, I was expecting maybe a How to Train Your Dragon type movie, and it is not that. This is a true blue Disney original, and it is great. It is like nothing you've ever seen before. I will say one of the things that did throw me off was I was anticipating basically a longer stretch before we actually meet Sisu, and the movie gets kind of right in there. I think it's within the first 5 to 10 minutes we've already met Sisu, so I wouldn't say that's bad necessarily. It's just something that threw me off. I was expecting this big giant buildup to meet Sisu, and that's not really what happened. But I think the reason why they did this is so basically the audience could spend more time with Sisu and really get to know that character. And it was beautifully done. I mean, they really developed Sisu's character, and you understand the heart of Sisu and why Sisu is the way that she is. And I gotta say, it really came together as I kept watching. I found that this movie brought me to tears in several different instances for several different reasons. I cried when Raya lost her father in the beginning, but I also cried when Sisu looks into Namari's eyes and they have that kind of connection. I found myself like tearing up in that moment as well. I cried at the very end when the dragons do like their dance in the air. That's what I'm gonna call it, the dragon waltz in the air. I was crying during that. Granted, I think a lot of that was because of the music, but I was just crying happy tears and sad tears. So in my opinion, any movie that can really bring me to tears and move me is already like in the A category. Now, what I really love about this movie is there isn't necessarily a villain per se. Now, of course, the Droon is definitely a villain, you know, I don't know what you want to call it, the Black Mist, if you will. I guess that could be the villain. But in terms of actual human characters, there isn't really a villain per se. Now, I know, Namari, you know, stabs Raya in the back, and she is, you know, a villain to some degree. But really, when you boil it down, at the end of the day, she does the right thing. And I think she's actually more realistic and actually more relatable because, you know, we're all humans, we all make mistakes. And I think that's, you know, the beauty of this character actually is that she isn't so perfect and she was still able to basically right her wrongs and do the right thing at the end of the day. Now, another thing I will say that I guess is maybe a con, maybe it's a bad thing, I don't know. For me personally, I just felt like it was a little out of sync. And the reason why I say this is we kind of get a lot of flashback moments throughout the movie to explain why things are the way that they are. So for instance, when Sisu takes Raya back to basically the heart of the Heartland, Sisu opens up to Raya and tells, you know, her about her siblings, and we kind of get the dragon's perspective. And it's just interesting because I feel like there's a lot of back and forth, whereas I feel like maybe they could have gotten that all out in the open in the beginning. So that's another thing I would say, I guess, is like a slight critique, is I feel like it was a little back and forth. But again, I don't really think it was a bad thing necessarily. It's just something that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But even with the back and forth, they tie it together nicely with the overarching theme of trusting one another. And I think it's an important message for any individual who's really been burnt a lot in their life and, you know, has problem trusting people. I do think basically the message was that you will see the world the way you want to see it. So if you want to think that everyone is evil and out to get you and is just there to stab you in the back, then that's the way you're going to live your life. But if you open up and you trust people, then you're going to see the world a lot differently. And I think that really rings true, and it is honestly something that I needed to be reminded about. Overall, I think this is a really great movie that anybody can watch, whether you're, you know, 6 years old or 52. This is a movie for everyone, and I highly, highly recommend it. So I think that concludes this review. I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, thanks for being my guest here at Disney Daily. Until next time.